Hey, what's up? So I'm tossing back together a 394 here. I'm gonna kind of just let the video run while I'm doing it. Hopefully, if everything goes right and I can keep this video running, we will pop this thing off today. Right now, I'm not sure. Everything's kind of got to go right. I got it kind of all cleaned up. It's an OEM jug. I'm going to give you a good look at everything here. Just got to kind of clean this out before I oil it up. And I'll give you a close-up on some of this stuff in a second. I'll just talk while I'm doing this. It's all been cleaned. I got a little bit of WD-40 in here right now. I'm just wiping out. I will put assembly lube in it, which is just, I use 2-cycle. I saw a question the other day on a forum, like, what do you use for assembly oil? Well, I use 2-cycle, and I'll tell you why. Because I think it helps me to get the saw popped off for the first time when you build one a little bit easier. That's one reason, or that is the primary reason that I use 2-cycle. If you use anything that's not combustible, I think that it makes it take forever to pop off. You might take 10 pulls, 15 pulls, because you got to kind of cycle that crap through that's not combustible. So I use 2-cycle oil when I put them together. I'll give you kind of a look at the cast of characters here, give you a little close-up. So it's OEM 394, not a 395. Logger buddy, I built this saw 4 years ago. He torched it, and what I think torched, you can see the last time that this was put together since before I did it was 01. It's a 30-year-old saw, 30-plus-year-old saw. It blew up on him. He decided that instead of just using it as a bling saw, he was going to run it as an everyday user, and he cooked it because the decompression valve stuck open. You can see that this cylinder base has been cut. You can see right into the molly there. I cut the cylinder base when I ported it. It's been ported pretty aggressively. The numbers are really good. The exhaust isn't huge, but there was a reason for that, and I can't remember what it was. That exhaust isn't bigger, but the exhaust is all port matched all the way through the muffler. Like I said, numbers are all really good. Now, I rehoned and cleaned up this cylinder. It cleaned up great. I don't know how great it's going to show up in the light here, but the cylinder came out great. I ordered a Meteor piston for it from Wolf Creek. This is a Meteor piston. Cable rings. This is the Meteor piston number right here from Wolf Creek. And you can see real Italian cable rings. So, and I did from Duke's, I got a gasket set. So just reusing, because I cut the cylinder base, I can reuse gasket. So I got the gasket sitting in there. And I'm going to just kind of put this thing together here. If everything goes good, maybe I'll kind of just keep you over here. If you can't see my face, you'll be able to see the saw, which is probably better. So I'm just going to kind of dig through this. If this ends up being a couple of part video or just a video for the first pop off there, then that's great. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a clip inside this piston on the clutch side. Get a circlip in here, and we'll get this piston installed. Then we're going to just temporarily, we're going to just throw the jug on really quick. This titty part facing up. Actually, I'm going to face the titty part down. The reason being, I think the most violent change in direction on these, so when I face the clip tit down, the most violent change of direction is when it explodes and pushes it down. That keeps it in the clip versus the other way when you push it down. They could shake loose. I've never had one come loose, but I hear people talk about it an awful lot, so I'm going to just do it that way. I've always done it that way. A little bit of a 2-cycle on the pin bearing. Hopefully this pin slides right in here. Yep. Okay, so that's good. That thing will slide right through. Just want to double check that it was going to go right through before I stuck it on. You know, sometimes you kind of get hung up in the middle of, I don't know how many most of you ever put together, but sometimes you can get hung up right in the middle of putting that thing. We get a little more on this because the pin sticks in it, or you know, sometimes the pin's going really tight. Now I'm not putting a ton of this on here, just enough to keep because all the surfaces have been cleaned, just enough to keep the surfaces from kind of dry running in the beginning. A little bit goes a long way. Drop this on here. And sometimes you're going to find out last minute that it's a tapered pin or something like that. And it's kind of good to do a dry run first. Okay, get that part on. First thing I'm going to do, just double check that it's, for some reason, that this gasket isn't a weird size, and we don't have a head slapper here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to toss just a little bit of oil inside here, running around my finger. And before I put the rings on, I'm just going to go ahead and just hold this jug on with hand pressure. Just run that through a cycle just to make sure that it's not tapping on the top. It shouldn't be. Again, just 2-cycle on the inside. It's one thing I hate about doing saws. There's one thing that I cannot stand about doing customer saws is cleaning them. The single thing that drives me more batshit than anything else is cleaning a customer saw. All right, so we got it in there. So I'm just holding it down just to make sure that we didn't have like a catastrophic head smacker there. Oh, look at that. This gasket fits right over you don't see that all the time. Make sure when you do your saws, you put your gaskets on before you seal the piston on. Some saws you can't get the piston on afterwards with the gasket in there. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to stick the other circlip in here. Then we'll put the rings on and we'll drop this top on it, and hopefully all's good. The only thing that I got to worry about right now is I do have some bar and chain oil in here. And that's kind of a pain in the ass because one of the exhaust bolts goes all the way through. So I have to be careful that I don't leak it all out here. Let me get this thing in the right orientation. That one on the top. Okay, piston's all set. And the other thing that we're just going to have to do is make sure when we put the drop cylinder down that we kind of keep the gasket in the right spot. Let's get this thing settled all the way down. I don't use this thing all the time, but I guess it can be useful. So we got the arrow going to exhaust. I'm just seeing where the pins are on this meteor. And try and drop this one on first. I like to try to get it kind of angled down. It's going to be tricky for some people to, when I'm putting the first one on, get it angled all the way down to the slot. And you got to make sure, I don't know if at your little, for some of you that have done this a lot, then I apologize, but that your little angle on this fits around a pin that locates it on the piston. So you got to make sure that those little tapers are up like that. See that little curve? And get them about in the right spot. So get these two kind of down right where that pin is, and then just kind of slide it over the top. Anybody who's ever busted a ring before, you kind of know it can be challenging sometimes. Not all the time. Some models are easier than others. I got plenty of assembly. I'm just going to toss a little bit on here. Let's get this coil wire out of the way. I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line up this gasket. I'm going to drop a little bit of Loctite in these holes before I do this. Just drop a little bit of blue Loctite in these holes. Now, before I pop this thing on, get my right size. Yep. And do I need to drop any of these in here first? Yes, this one I cannot get in without putting it in first. This one can go in after. This one's got to go in first. Come on. And this one's got to go in first. That's another thing that can mess you up in assembly, not getting those in there. I'll leave that other one out until I put it down. And I think we are go, no go for launch here. Plenty of assembly lube in there. I'm just going to kind of hit a little bit on the rings here before I put the ring compressor on it. You can do this you don't have to use a ring compressor. I did this enough times without ever having a ring compressor. You can do it with your fingers if you want. I just find it so much easier with the ring compressor that since I got it, this cheapo thing, I use it. You kind of want to just make sure that my pins are kind of lined up. Yep. And whichever way you use this thing, it always seems like it works a little different for me. If I use it this way, I kind of have a hard time getting it off. If I put it on this way, I can usually pull it out through the front. So we're just going to kind of put this thing on, and we're going to seat the rings. Make sure they seat. They look like they did. Look like, yep, they're all the way down. You want to have this thing down just a hair from the top too. So kind of tight on the top ring, and you want to have a little bit of piston showing over the top of it. It just makes it easier to pop it on. And we can just kind of shove it to the front here. We should just be able to drop this thing right on. Sometimes not. Come on. I think I maybe just get that top ring stuck. I might have to pull it back off. Kind of some reason that top ring got stuck. Try it again. Make sure that my pins are lined up over my. This one moved. Drop the compressor back on. Do it again. One good thing about not having any 3-bond or anything on this is that I don't have to worry about time or anything. Come on, baby. There we go. We will take this off. Oh, what are you stuck on? Stuck on a bolt, of course. Take this all out. Kind of get our gasket lined up before I push it down. Kind of rotate it to bottom dead center. Just get the screws kind of lined up. Drop it right on. Actually, before I push it all the way down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get these started. Just so it locates the gasket for me. Get this starting. Get this back one started. Come on. Where are you? Oh, there you are. One thing that I could have done that I did not do on this one was I could have put the whole intake track together beforehand. I wish I wasn't shooting a video and I had thought of that. That does make things a little bit easier on this saw. I kind of wish I did it right now. Let's go ahead and just run this thing down, just kind of snug, and run it through rotation. Make sure we don't have a head slapper. So right now I still could pick this up and angle it and put the intake track on. Everything's got to be cleaned up. I'll do it after. Sometimes it can be challenging on these hard block intakes to get the intake gasket lined up. And the other thing that I wish I had done, I'm going to pick this up. That'll be all right. I wish I had just lubed the... You know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to pick this back up, make sure that I hit the crank bearings and everything with 2-cycle. I don't want them to run dry. And you know, I should find... That's all right. It's not a big deal. One good thing about doing this without 3-bond. You just pick the thing back up and tilt it forward. And maybe we'll go ahead and drop the intake track on too. I think everything's going to be clean though. It's going to be a hell of a video. Okay, let's run this all the way down to bottom dead center. And then we can pick it up. Okay, actually I did get a decent amount in there when I just sprayed it in there. Just make sure I get the little bit on the bearings. A little bit on the main rod bearing. Right now it's good because the gasket's sticking to the bottom. Yeah, these all have to be cleaned up. So let's just go ahead and drop it back on. And then I will pause you guys. I'll go out and clean up the intake side. And we'll come in and we'll put it together. Or should I just pause you now and do it and drop it on as one unit? So that's a bolt through. This is going to drop down in here. Am I going to have a problem getting it on after? I'm going to pause you guys, and I'm going to go out and clean up the intake track, and we're going to put it on when we do it. All right, I'm back. Let's see here. What's going to be your best view? Now, there's a chance, guys, that I might work in front of you. I'm going to try not to, but... So you can see we got it leaning up. I'm going to stick the intake track on now. This has got an intake block. It goes on first. And then the carb and the elbow seat into the intake block itself. On this side, you do want to Loctite your... You want to Loctite your 2 bolts that go into the cylinder. That's going to drop right down in that gap. But sometimes this can be hard to get in afterwards. So this will help. I am going to Loctite these 2 bolts. All right. I mean, I call them bolts. I think they're actually machine screws, but I'm just going to put a dab on each one. Just going to stick a dab in the hole just a little bit. The one thing that's going to cause these to fail faster than anything on the face of the planet is this block coming loose. Or the block cracking or melting or any of those things. Any of those things will cause this thing to fail. We're just going to go ahead. Oops. Get this started. Right while the jug's sitting here. And then what we'll do is we'll drop the whole thing down, put the whole thing on as one unit. It's just going to make it easier on me. Just kind of seat them evenly. This can really only go on one way. Tight's tight, too tight's broken. You do not want to forget to tighten these down. That'll also give that Loctite some time to dry. Now, I am not, well, you know what? I wasn't gonna Loctite these two, but there is a metal seat in there, so I'm just gonna put a little dab on it. Again, this is another one of those, you do not want these to come loose. Now on this side over here, it's not going to cause a huge problem, but the other side causes a huge problem. It'll blow the saw up. I got that on backwards. I got that on backwards. Yep. It's a good check there. Head on upside down. Got to put it right side up so that the impulse hole lines up. And I could see that my fuel line was facing the wrong way and my choke lever was facing the wrong way. You know, kind of want to sneak these down little by little so you can tighten them nice and even. And the reason it makes a difference is that this is another one of those things where you want to seat this as evenly as you possibly can, so that you don't crack anything, so that it seats nice and even. These, if they back out, you're going to get an air leak on the backside. You don't want to go tight enough to crack the plastic, but tight enough so she ain't going to come apart. I'm just going to make sure, Loctite these again. Okay. Now we should be able to drop her on. I just do this really gentle so that I don't mess up my my gasket's kind of stuck up on the cylinder right now. And I got to get that thing dropping right in its little gap there. Make sure my fuel line doesn't get stuck and my choke doesn't get stuck. Feels like something's holding me off here. There we go. And now we'll get these things going. Now our whole intake track's all nice and in place. Bolt holes line up, so it's all good. Solves a big problem there. Oh, missed it. Gaskets in place. don't want to tighten these yet, just in case some of the holes aren't perfectly lined up. Just kind of let it center itself. So I want to get them all to go down until they hit. I'm going to show you another little trick here. Sometimes, if you don't get your crank centered, sometimes I'm going to back all these off just a little eighth of a turn. Sometimes if your crank isn't centered, there's a little bit of slop in these holes. So what you want to do is get it just about tight, back them off just a little bit, and go ahead and run the piston through a rotation. And what that'll do is that will center this jug. And then you can go ahead and snug it. I can find the screw. Snug it so it doesn't move, and then you can go gronk on it. I always do it in a cross pattern. I'm not really sure that it makes a difference. Let's see what your view looks like. Yep, you're all set. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go around and I'm going to get them kind of tight. And keep doing this until I get them really tight. Extra little squish. Don't drop my Loctite. I have a real hard time finding that one. Come on. And this is one of those things that when you build a new saw, you're going to want to check these about after maybe an hour running it. Now, because these cylinder bolts will stretch during a heat cycle. When this expands, they can stretch. On an older saw, I find that happens very, 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 very rarely. An older saw, typically when you tighten them down, they're down for good. Now, one thing that I want to do right now is I want to put the decompression button in, and I have some brand new ones in my kit. I keep in my kit in here, which is my box is starting to fall apart, but kind of like every tool on the face of the planet that you'd ever need to work on a saw. And somewhere in here, I have a whole bunch of new decompression valves. They're steel, but I don't want to reuse the Husqvarna one that failed. Obviously, just gotta find them. Just gotta pull apart my kit here. Yeah, they're in here. And these are OEM steel, brand spanking new. Still in their packaging, if I can get them out of here. And there are some older ones in here too. There's a brand new one right there. And steel part numbers, if you're wondering, that's the steel part number. And you can see, hopefully, it's the OEM steel. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to pop this in right now so I don't forget it. And we're going to pop the plug on so we can get it sealed up. I'm going to snap it shut. I don't really need Loctite on this. In the past, I have put 1184 on the threads. It doesn't really need it because it's got a compression ring on it. This is kind of one of those things that you should kind of check from time to time with your general maintenance whenever you're in here working on stuff. A scrunch fits these, the small side, the 19 millimeter side of the scrunch fits these. Or I think that's the 19. No, it's smaller than 19 millimeter. Small side of the scrunch fits this. This is kind of one of those, because you're going to crush the compression ring on it, you kind of want to go till it just doesn't want to go anymore. Kind of like that. Kind of like a spark plug. So as a decompression, we're going to throw the spark plug in so that we don't get any crap in it. This is not a new plug. This is a BMPR 7A. I'm going to see if I have any new plugs in my kit. I assume I do. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing so I'm not kind of taking off on you. Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with this plug, but since if I do have some new ones right here, there's no real reason not to throw a new one in it. You know, you want to get into fixing saws, you're not going to get rich fixing saws. Cleaning time takes forever. You're never going to be able to recoup your money for that. Oh, look at that. There's another brand new one. Another brand new decompression valve. Put that in maybe with my, I don't know yet. So we got no spark plugs in this side. You got to get this decompression valve back in the kit part here where they go. Oh, that's right, it fell out because that bag's got a hole in it. I'll put this in with my fuel filters here because that bag's good. Now let's see if I have any spark plugs in here. I do not know where they all went. I used to have spark plugs in here. That's weird. I used to have boxes of these 7As in here. All right, well, it looks like old spark plug it is. So I'm just going to clean it up. And I'm just going to grab a piece of emery cloth really quick. Something not that fine. I know that I'm kind of off camera right now, but I'm just finding a piece of emery cloth under my metal lathe. Just clean up the electrode. It was running really nice too. It's nice and chocolate brown. No issues with the way the saw was running when she went boom. It did not go lean. It did not have an air leak in the saw, or this would be stone cold white. What happened was the decompression valve stuck open and melted the piston right where the decompression valve is. All right, so she's all good. We'll go ahead and pop her in. And we will make compression. We will have compression. Okay, So that part's good. Obviously, I pulled the thing off the plug wire here, so I'm going to have to put that back on in a minute. But what I want to do right now is I want to get some of this shit out of my way. My ring compressor and stuff. Get some of this dirty emery cloth out of my way. I want to button up this side. So I'll get you guys a better view. I'm just going to hook up my fuel line. Hook up my fuel line, hook up my throttle, hook up my choke. Put these two screws in, have this side completely 100% done. I can remember which little screws go into that thing. That might be, I think it's this one and this one. I think. It's these two. Oh, they kind of look like they are different. Those are handle bolts. Those, I assume, went in the muffler. These long ones right here don't go to anything, so I bet it's these. I bet these drop all the way through here. Yep. It's kind of strange on the, it would be that long, but must go all the way through a bunch of stuff here. You don't want to go over heavy on these and crack anything. You can crack these ears. A lot of times on this type of setup, you'll see a white line right there. That's why they have the flange on these two machine screws, is to spread the load out. I can see it starting to turn white. There's no reason to go any more than that. We'll get the fuel line on here. I hope. Man, she looks a little small. I'm going to drop, I can tell either this fuel line shrunk or something, but I am going to drop a little bit of 2-cycle on that. Oh, that's that's not 2-cycle. That's not 2-cycle. Let's wash this back to the tank. I am going to have to do something about what I just did. Okay, I'm going to have to blow that all the way through. So let's get it set on its side here. I'm going to pull the fuel filter right off. That's what I get for not paying attention. Trying to shoot a video and not paying attention. I stick blue Loctite in there. I don't want that to blow back into the carb. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull this fuel filter off. And we're just going to blow that all the way through with brake clean. Just make sure that there's nothing in that. Okay, that should be good. Let's stick our filter back in there. It's a pretty new filter. Get our fuel tanks back closed up so we get nothing in there. Boy, there's a funny one for you there doing that. Okay, now I'm going to close up this blue Loctite for now. I'm going to put 2-cycle oil in here to help me slide this onto this nipple, because I just have a feeling it just looks a little small and kind of thick. I don't know why. Something's telling me that this goes over this nipple kind of hard. Okay. Clean off my hands. Where is... So once we get it started, we'll be okay. There we go. Yeah, she went right on. She's got to go a little bit way. She got to go quite a ways up to get the kink out of it. And you don't want to put any holes in it, so don't grab this with any weird sharp pliers or anything. Perfect. Okay, we'll get this choke snapped in here. And we're going to want to go choke on this thing too. Okay, that's snapped in, and we're going to make sure we leave the choke on. And we are going to hook up the throttle. Make sure that functions right. Yep. So we have fuel, we have the choke, we're all here, we're all tight there, we're all tight here. Everything's ready to go. One thing you will see on the saw, I'll show you something about putting those intakes on and why you do it beforehand. You look at the back side of this saw, if you see that hole drilled right there, that hole is drilled right there to get at the bolts, and this little hollow here to get at the bolts to put this on after you put, if you ever have to take this out, that's the only real way to get at them. So that's one reason why you want to put that together first. And we can just check those just to be safe. So that hole works perfect. And that's a good place to check them from time to time on this setup. Okay, that's all tight. Keeps everything in place. That part's all good to go. Make sure your choke is on so nothing can get in there. That's sealed up. And we can go to work on the muffler. So I am going to pause you guys for a second while I get all the parts out. And we'll put the muffler on, and then we can dump the handle on it. We'll fix that, the recoil side, put the plug connector back on, and we are probably going to be able to fire this thing up on this video. So let me pause you. All right, I'm going to drop this on. If I remember how it goes, this goes this way. These two long bolts just get stuck in here. This is a heat shield. Don't really know whether it matters or not. Now, one thing I do know about this heat shield is that for some reason, and maybe I got this on wrong. For some reason, that goes like that. Oh, maybe it goes around the other way, and there's no gasket on the backside. It's just, sorry, got to figure this out. I think it goes on this way with no gasket around the backside. Nope, maybe not. Let me take these out for a second. Let's see how that, okay, it doesn't go like that. Okay, it goes like that, which means there's no gasket on the backside. I'm going to pause you guys again 1 second while I pull the gasket out. Okay, I contemplated not using not using the heat shield, and I'll tell you why. If I pull this off, I can probably show you better. With this particular muffler, and there are many different versions of this on this saw. With this particular muffler, when this thing goes in and seats, if I don't have the heat shield, this bracket right here, you can see it, this bracket will sit against the case. If I use the heat shield, the heat shield's got its own little kind of metal, kind of screw you gasket here thing, a gasket on the backside plus the thickness of the heat shield. That will be off the case here, and you have to shim these two screws. But I am going to go ahead and put the heat shield on anyway. This gasket is bi-directional. It doesn't matter which way you put it on. That was in the Duke's kit. It's bigger than the exhaust opening, which is good. This heat shield, this thing actually seats underneath. Not really sure why that matters, but that's how that goes on like that. This thing seats underneath. And then we can drop our muffler on. Make sure we keep everything in place there. Drop our muffler on. And then, like I said, we are going to have to shim. Whoa, that one went all the way in. Going to kick out this muffler bolt. Come on. Come on, find your way. Come on. That muffler bolt's in a bad spot. She's just not finding her way. Okay, I just gotta pull it off real quick. This muffler bolt's not in the right spot. There we go. This particular saw is notorious for having these muffler bolts loosen up. Now, hopefully you can see that gap behind there. And that's got to be shimmed out. And I have a bunch of what I think are shims in here to do that. It looks like they're just little washers. Hopefully we don't have any problems with them. Just want to. It looks like he's lost these two. These I'm going to have to find something to tighten them with because I have no idea what size these are. I'm probably going to blue Loctite those. Just wondering whether I really need that heat shield and how much spacer I need to get off this. So just pulling out what I get left here in parts. Okay, that's going to go back on our plug. It is funny, I do have two little screws, and I'm not really sure what they are. They could be handles. I know that I got the 3 handle bolts here. These 2 little screws right here, I'm not 100% sure what those are right now. Whether they thread in here or not, I don't know. They don't seem right for that. I think these were in here. This is one of those areas where you want to kind of be careful here. These do thread in there. I'm almost wondering if they look dirty, but I'm not 100% sure where they go. They might. They don't go there. There's nothing in here. They do have a little flange on them. They do screw in there fine. So that is an awful good question. There's nothing else that they could be. I got the whole recoil assembly here. I do have one little screw that goes on the air intake to hold that in. Huh. This little screw here has got a lot of Loctite on it. But these are a matched pair of screws. I am going to use them here. And I don't think I have enough washer spacer to do that. I'm going to pause you 1 second. I'm just going to look through all the stuff that's in the box here. Okay, I've decided I am going to use these. It looks like he had spacers in here, 2 for one side and 2 for the other, for that gap. So we're going to try and do that right now. Get them just started. And then I'll end up taking these off and blue Loctiting them, or backing them out, throwing some blue Loctite on them, and then screwing them down. I got to find, I wonder if that's 8mm will go on that. It's not 8mm, it's like 10. So I know it doesn't make a difference to you guys, but I am going to pause you one more second because I got to go get something to tighten that down with. I don't think I have anything right here, 10mm. All right, back. I'm going to go ahead and slip these in here. Just get them started. Might just clean these off. Hi, Danny. Hi, Rose. Got both dogs here today. They're bugging me to go out, I think, now. Yep, Danny's wagging his tail. He's like, yeah, I need to go out. The other dog's being bad. Probably should have cleaned these up before. The Loctite's not going to do a lot if they're covered with oil. I'm going to get these behind this thing. It's going to be a little tricky. Yeah, there's that one. So get that one started. Get this one cleaned up. Well, you're going to find out if these go. I can't imagine where else they go. I really can't. And I know this saw pretty well. Oh, I know where they go. I do know where they go. But it's okay. Actually, I like these flange ones better here anyway. I do know where they go. They go down through, they hold, I think they hold, oh, no, I'm wrong. Never mind. Let's get this one, some Loctite on this one. So use an awful lot of Loctite. This one's going to be a little tricky to get in too. See if I can do it. Okay. Yep. And I like the way they have the flange on the front. They're just M5, so I'm just going to snug these in a little bit. Threads are all still good here, which is good. Snug these in just a teeny bit. Kind of hold it in place. And then what we're going to do is we're going to back these off and blue Loctite the shit out of these. Get some Loctite in behind it there. I don't know that in this situation that Loctite does anything because of the heat. So if anything's going to make the Loctite fail here, it's going to be the heat. This could be red Loctite. However, trust me on these that if they come loose, I mean, if they get hot, I don't even think Loctite does anything, which is probably why these saws are prone to that. And I just kind of want to just tighten these down evenly. And those look right for in there. But I know that he's probably lost those, which is why the thing that's telling me they don't go there is that there's no way that he still has those two screws. I'm going to crush the can, but it feels pretty good right there. Yeah, that all feels good. Throw a grunk on these. Make sure these aren't loose. You got all 4 of these screws are the same. So is there a chance that he didn't lose those bottom 2? I'd say slim and none, but so we don't have to worry about any bar oil leaking out of it anymore. Ain't going no more. All right, so that part's done. I'm going to pause you guys again while I get set up for the next operation here. At least putting together the other side. All right, so a couple more things here. The bar guide fell off. This little air intake sits in here, fastens behind the flywheel right there. And that's this little dinky screw right here. Looks like that. Let's see if I can just get her stuck on the end of that screwdriver. Kind of got to snake that down in there. This thing has a seat on top. And then we're just going to have to make sure that the flywheel clears this thing. Why is it not screwing in? Oh, there it is. Very fine thread. I'm just going to make sure that the flywheel clears that. Yep. Obviously, we get compression now. So flywheel clears it fine. On this particular saw, I think I need to put in, that's all hooked up, I need to put in this plastic sheath here, I think, first. And I think that's going to tell me where the spark plug wire needs to go. So this thing just kind of, it's going to go, I think, over the spark plug wire and under the blue wire. I think the blue wire goes through this hole right here, kind of finds its way around. The spark plug wire goes up on top. That. This thing just sits in its housing here. I don't know why that's so long, but it is. It's kind of weird kill wire. That might need to be shortened, but I'm not sure what's going on there, whatever he did. This, I want to route through before I put the top on it. And it kind of goes behind this little clip right here. Goes up through here first. Behind this clip. That really holds this in place. So that part's all set. We can, I think right now, we can go ahead and just throw this recoil on. And 394 XP. I don't see any reason why we can't just do this right now. Oh, she's a little crunchy. Okay. She ain't going down inside very well. It's not sitting very well. Why is it not sitting very well? There it goes. And I'll just Tighten these Phillips down. Normally when I'm doing this, I'd have a whole ton of impact guns here. One with a Phillips on it, one with a Allen on it, maybe one with a T27 on it. I don't know why. Somewhere in the back of my head it's telling me that this can't go on yet, but we're going to put it on. And we're going to hook up that spark plug wire. And we'll drop the handle on it. And we're going to go try and fire it up. Okay, that's good. Some people might want to see how to hook up do the spark plug wire. What you want to do, if you can, is get this snake through the boot first if you can. Sometimes you can't, and you can just go ahead and put this part on the wire and push this through. And sometimes it's a pain. So if I can grab this wire and pull it out, I can get my needle nose in there. It's a lot easier if you can put the boot on first, like that. And these two little spurs simply push into this. So we kind of want to find where they were. So I can see the short one was on this side and the long one was on this side. Kind of want to do that. Pull it out, stick it back in its hole, take a pair of pliers and crush it down. That's as much as there is to that. Then you should be able to very gently push this thing back up inside. You want to push it in instead of pull it through so that you don't unseat that wire. And just make sure that you're lined up inside. That can go right on, I think. Yeah. I'm not crazy about where this is right here. I wonder if that goes up through. Oh, yeah, there's a holder on the top cover. Let's throw the top cover on. There's a holder right on the top cover. This wire snakes through. Like that. I'll snake these down. And it looks like he was missing one over here. It was, I assume that one's stripped like every other one of these saws ever in the history of the world. The decompression button's right in a good spot. I am going to not put in the blue throttle adjustment here, and I'm not going to do all this stuff yet until we pop it off. So I'm going to leave this stuff to the side. We're going to go ahead and throw the handle on it. Get some stuff out of the way. Okay, I'm going to throw the handle on it. I'm going to back you guys up a little bit while I do this. And then we'll be able to throw some fuel in it and see if it starts. I know, Rose. I know, it's so crazy. Oh, still got shit in the way. And when it comes to these, we'll see what we got left over here for screws. I'm sure there's some missing. There's definitely something missing here. It looks like I got 3 of them. I think I might have stole one of these. I'm 90% sure I did. Let me see if I can get this thing just secured enough to start it. We'll get to at least hear it run. Don't think that I have the one that goes in here. And I think I'm short one of these. I think I had another saw in here that I had to steal some handle pieces from for a full wrap that came short a piece. Flip it over. Put two in the bottom because they're usually the harder ones to do. You know, that's weird. This saw is different. I know what those other two screws were. This saw's got machine. I'm not short one. This saw's got machine screws down here. That's different. Actually, that works out really good. That means that we have everything we need, I think. Make sure you can see. Yeah. You don't see that very often where you have real machine screws there going into metal. But that is the case on this one. Now, I don't know if this one goes in here. Well, I guess maybe it does. Awesome. I'll get these in here. If you see a metal seat like it has on these, it's not a self-tapping plastic screw. It's a regular machine screw. And that is the case here. Whoops. I'm going to take the dogs out. I'm going to pause you guys, take you outside, and we're going to fire this saw up. Let's get these just kind of half gronked down. I don't think I've ever seen any of those ever come loose. Cool. All right, this saw is ready to fire up. So I'm going to pause you guys, take you outside, and bring the dogs out, and we'll kick this thing over. All right, so let's put some fuel in it, and then we'll fire up from complete rebuild to, well, not complete rebuild. This saw's been rebuilt before, but new hone in the cylinder to replacing the piston, and the 97 hours of cleaning that goes along with that. Don't need to fill it all the way up yet. In case a catastrophic problem. I can see a possible reason why the decompression valve might have stuck open on this. See that hole? It's not very big. I think I'm going to wallow that out with a Dremel right after I run this for the first time. But let's see. Let me get you guys a view over here. Hopefully I can have no problem pulling this over with my old ass. Let's see if it runs. All right, so it's on, choke. Let's push. The decompression is pushed in right now. Let's pull it a couple times just to get some fuel flowing. I don't know if it's getting fuel up there yet. All right, let's try it. Nope. There's a pop. All right, one thing I want to do, I'm going to pause you guys a second. I want to make sure, I don't like that decompression button the way it is. I want to make sure that that thing's not sticking. So I'm going to pause you guys 1 second. I know that you guys got to see it running. Actually, you know what? I'll do that off camera. It's running. You guys got to hear it. Obviously, it needs a throttle. I mean, the idle turned up a bit. The throttle response is pretty good. Let's go ahead and fire it back up. Oh. Yeah, so I'm going to hollow that out because it is, that decompression button just looks to me like it's hitting on the cover. I'm going to hollow that out, and I'll check the idle on it, get the other stuff all back together. Sometimes when you run it without this cover on, these clips will fall off. So I don't want to lose any of them, but yeah, it's ready to rock and roll. Whoa, it's got some compression. Should fire right up on half. Oh. Oh. Yep. So just needs a little bit of throttle turned up, and I think we're good to go. And after I'll shoot a video running it with a bar and chain on it, cutting some wood, so you can see how it pulls. But thanks for hanging in there. It was a long video, but success. Another project out of the shop while I'm sitting around waiting for all the snow to melt off my logs and stuff. So it's starting to. See all my wood pile, my lumber piles are buried. Just fixed my Bobcat yesterday. I had a leaky hose that goes up through that boom. I posted a video on it. But that's it. And we'll get it all together, get a bar and chain on it, and we'll run it in some wood. So thanks for hanging out. This is Pirate Solutions out.